Mathematically speaking, the first question of how far did you make it is a question of displacement, the change in position from where you started to where you stopped. Given the graph or equation of velocity v of t, we can calculate the displacement by evaluating the integral between a and b of v of t dt. For our school example, you'll notice that we start where time is 0 and we end where time is 1 hour. So to evaluate the displacement, we would find the integral between 0 and 1 of v of t dt. We know that evaluating the integral means taking the area above the x-axis minus the area below the x-axis. So between 0 and 1, we have an area of 7 above the x-axis, an area of 7 below the x-axis, and an area of 17.4 above the x-axis. If we add those up, we get 17.4. If we consider the units, the 0 and 1 are time in hours. Our velocity, v of t, is in miles per hour. When we evaluate the integral, we multiply these units. The hours cancel out, and we end up with 17.4 miles as our displacement, the change in position from where we started to where we ended. The question of what is the total distance traveled requires the consideration of all areas, with no consideration of which direction you were moving. Given the graph or equation of velocity v of t, we can find the total distance by evaluating the integral from a to b of the absolute value of v of t dt. For our school example, again, we have the integral between 0 and 1. This time we do the absolute value of v of t dt. When we consider the absolute value of v of t dt, it takes all of our areas and puts them above the x-axis. So I would have this piece here. Then this piece would also get moved up here. And then I would have this piece right here. So it's maybe not the best graph, but the graph in green represents the absolute value of v of t. And if we evaluate the integral between 0 and 1, now all of our area is positive. So we have 7 above the x-axis, and 17.4 also above the x-axis. So when we evaluate the integral, we have 7 plus 17.4, or 31.4. Again, with the units, 0 and 1 are in hours. The absolute value of v of t is still in miles per hour. We evaluate the integral, multiplying our units, the hours cancel, and we end up with miles. Our total distance traveled was 31.4 miles.